Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. You may have noticed this is not Chris Cowlin, it's Craig Dearman. I'm hosting tonight because Chris is travelling back from Craven Cottage after that disastrous match, which we will be discussing tonight on the channel. We're live on YouTube, X and Facebook, so please do get involved and send us your comments in. We'll be talking tonight about the, as I say, disastrous Fulham 3, Tottenham 0 result. I've got three special guests with me tonight. We're just waiting for Jamie, but I thought we may as well get started. We got Becky and Ricky with us tonight. Rick, how are you?
Well, you know what? I was really looking for. This is the first game that I've managed to watch in its entirety for a little while, and I was really looking forward to it. And especially after last week's performance, I was like, "Let's go! We're on a roll. Let's build this momentum." But it was a bit disappointing today. It was a bit like they all had a pint at lunch. Do you know what I mean? It's like they had hey, Jamie's in the house. Welcome, Jamie.
Hello, guys.
On,
sorry, usual technical issues, but I'm here.
You're
That's
here
all
now,
right. You're here now. That's good.
But yeah, for me, it felt like they all had a pint at lunch, and they all had burger and chips, and they was all a bit sluggish. And do you know what I mean? Like the passes were, and we just couldn't get into our rhythm. And
we'll get into it, Rick. We'll get into it,
yeah,
mate.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Becky's here. Becky Day, how are you, Becky?
Yeah, it's sort of saying, weren't we? Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me back on. It's kind of like we were saying off air. It's just the way we are as Spurs fans. We start to think we've turned a corner, and then that happens after the highs of last week and being at Villa Park and having that second half display, and literally from kickoff today, it was just so unlike us. And yeah, we'll get to it, but it's a bit.
It was a weird one. It was a weird one. And finally, we got Jamie here with us after his technical issues. How are you, Jamie?
I'm very well. I mean, yes. You know, I think I'm probably going to echo. I missed the opening gambit from Ricky, but I'm sure we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. It just feels we're going to get into it. It's lovely to be back on. This is actually my first time being on after a negative display. So normally I can't wait. So I think the technical issues were a bit subconscious. Maybe I didn't actually want to come on. So maybe I was sabotaging my own technical Wi-Fi.
Right, of course. Well, we know the way the result went today. It wasn't the result we wanted at all. And this is the state that it leaves the Premier League table in. All teams around us played 28 games now, and we remain in fifth, with Manchester United just 6 points behind us. Missed the opportunity to leapfrog Villa into fourth, which is a bit disappointing, isn't it? And looking at the stats of the game, we did have more possession, which did surprise me when I saw that. And I can't remember 14 shots, Tottenham having 14 shots, but there you go. The stats don't tell the full story there, do they? Very, very strange. Becky, let's come to you. The starting lineup, we had Vicario, Porro, Romero, Dragusin, Udogie, Sarr, Bissouma, Maddison, Kulusevski, Son and Johnson. Any surprises there for you, or was that pretty much what you were expecting?
No, that was what I was expecting after Ange said yesterday that we'd heard in the week that Van de Ven was injured, and that Dragusin would make his first start since his signing in January. And he said that Richarlison would be back on the subs bench, which he was. There was comments about possibly whether Maddison would pick up a knock in the week, but he started. Started, maybe not the right word, but they all just sort of began the match very flat. And Ricky's right, lethargic, and just like I said, completely different to last week. I know I'm reading the comments, people are saying that we haven't been starting games well for a long time. But yeah, so the lineup was as I expected it, and I really thought that we would kick off from the final whistle last Sunday. How wrong I was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was very slow, wasn't it? In fact, the first thing I wrote down here about match incidents was scrappy start. Rick, is that fair, Rick, to say that?
It was a scrappy start. Fulham got in behind many a time, and my first half men of the match were Romero for his blocks, and Dragusin looked pretty solid back there, and Vicario for some outstanding saves. But they got in behind way too easy, and they got their shots off way too easy for me. And that was a sign of things to come. I really did believe that we was going to wake up, and it just never happened. We never got to string more than 3 passes together. And then when we did get a shot on goal, it just went off. And for me, you know, the commentator said that Fulham had their best game today. Like, that's the best that they've looked. To me, they played well. They played good. But I don't think that they was outstanding. I don't think they played us off the park. I just don't think we turned up today. I think it was just a really bad day at the old office, man. And it was, and from everyone, top to bottom, you know, top to bottom.
Absolutely. I mean, Jamie, if you want to take this one for Simon, it was one of those nights, Dragusin, no Van der Ven, but you'll get better. Let's move on. Do you agree with that, or do you think?
No. I think actually, I felt for Dragusin. I really did, because I think it was a really poor midfield display. Our midfield had an arrogance about them. I thought Basuma was absolutely non-existent, and all he contributed was a booking, and you can see that coming a mile off. I felt, I mean, one of their goals came from. We had no one. They literally played through the middle, and there was no one there. So I think our midfield really let us down today. And actually, it's in hindsight, but we actually needed Højbjerg in there. He hasn't got the quality, but we need. And when he did come on, and when Benson caught, at least we started to suppress a little bit. We started to break up their midfield, but that's where they won the game. So I actually think we defended as well as we could. I thought Romero was superb, especially in the first half, and I think Dragusin did what he could. I don't think he's at fault. I don't think so I don't think we can start saying, oh, he's no Van der Ven and this, that, and the other, because I think if Van der Ven was playing, I can't see it being any different, because it was a midfield. It was a midfield failure for me today, and also what our 2 wide players. I thought Kula and Johnson, again, non-existent, absolutely non-existent. They weren't showing the quality on the ball. You know, their first touch. It was a couple of times Johnson got away with some horrendous first touches. So I just thought across that bank where we're so quick to turn games around, and where Basuma will get on the ball, you know, he can get us out of trouble. Non-existent. So you can't be looking at, you know, the guy who's made his full debut, and start making comparisons. That's not fair in a game where we've got no midfield. It
reminded me of you know, when they played Brentford on the first game of the season, and Van der Ven, I think, had to come on, didn't he, when Romero got injured, and he made like a lunge and it went in off his knee and deflected in or something like that. I thought Dragusin started really well. He was getting some headers. I remember they had a corner early on and he headed it away. And I said to Jack, I was like, oh, he seems quite good in the air. And, you know, obviously there were a couple of times where he had to kind of chase players down. But yeah, he's come on the end of after being on the pitch last week for all 4 goals that we scored. Obviously, we've had a 3-0 this week. But I don't think it was necessarily hit down to his positioning or his lack of pace or mistakes that he made. I think, like, you're right. I think it's kind of like a collective all together. You know, he made some decent kind of interceptions. You know, he looked like he was fairly confident in the position that he was in a very, very difficult game. In a game that I massively agree that there was just so many people all over the park that weren't really there. And I thought Sarr looked very sort of leggy, and we seemed to kind of not get second balls, or we were getting intercepted and then we were taking fouls. And Fulham just, when they got the turnovers, it was boom, 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 boom. And that's what we were like last week at Villa. It was almost like it was a complete opposite. Like we'd been too easy and found out. And you know, like Ricky said, it was just second half was just really boring.
Two gooners undid us. Iwobi and William.
Yeah, that's right. That's the sucker punch, isn't it? Yeah. Charles says here, Rick, you're on mute, mate. Our passing was shocking, worst I've seen under Ange. That's what I thought, because I think Fulham they weren't allowing us to settle. But was that Fulham playing well? Was it us playing bad, or was it a combination of both, Rick?
I think that Fulham definitely capitalised on their opportunities, but I think that we gave them opportunities. Many a time that the ball was fizzed in, and like you saying there, Jamie, you know, I thought Basuma, it was one of his poorest games in a long time. And that doesn't mean that I don't love him. That doesn't mean I don't back him. What that means is that today he had a bad game and we're just speaking it. We're just talking it out right now. But yeah, I thought he was non-existent, much like you, Jamie. And And I think that every time that the ball was fizzed into him, there was many a time that he just opened his body, and it was almost, I want a better word, maybe lethargic instead of the word I was going to use. But it was almost very lethargic that he opened his body up and he just thought, yeah, this is going to be an easy step to the right or step to the left. And within that bounce, it was taken off of us and we was countered on. But that happened so many times throughout the park. And I think Jamie hit the nail on the head there where he said that there wasn't no midfield today. I mean, and you know, big credit to all of those fans that were there today, because that first half, I heard you singing, I heard you hollering. It sounded almost like a home game. Do you know what I mean? I heard Sar's song many a time, but from top to bottom, it was just a very bad display. Agreed with Johnson as well on the left-hand side. There was many a touches and many a ball that he just let go. Kulu, for all of his hard work and for all of his battling, for all of his strength, the amount of times that he dribbled round 2-3 and then just ran into the third or blasted it into the third, and it was an easy counter on us. And especially when we're doing this high press, when they've got the ball and we're trying to high press, we're tending to lunge for players and for balls, which leaves gaps in behind. So then it's easier to counter on us. So, you know, Fulham were great to jump on their opportunities, but I felt that we gave them every single one of those opportunities, you know, and we made it easy for them. This wasn't the Tottenham. Our Tottenham that we've seen under Ange is a team that, you know, we let the opposition worry about us rather than concentrate or worry about them too much. And we gave them nothing to worry about. They were sewn up. We were easy to play against.
We were indeed. Jamie, just coming around to you. Jonesy's put in a midweek game, plenty of time to prepare and all to play for today. A real kick in the teeth. We kind of touched on it already, but it is a bit, isn't it? You know, we said in the chat group, I mean, it's weird. Well, it's not really weird when you're a Tottenham fan. You kind of get used to this sort of thing, but you go to Villa Park, you put in such a brilliant display. And I actually said on the last show, the Villa result kind of means nothing if you don't go to Fulham and put in a shift, and we didn't, did we? And that's the most frustrating thing for me.
It is. I mean, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, from where we've come from, this season's been amazing, and it's been a roller coaster. And we've got to, you know, we're not far from the end of March, and we've had very, very few, if any, of these. You know, I've not seen a display like that. So I think we've got to keep a bit of perspective on it from where we've come from. But it is disappointing. I mean, it is, you know, we destroy Villa, and obviously the sending off. I think we were still in charge of that game anyway, and I think we would have gone on to probably do the same thing. So to have that game in hand, you know, and to put ourselves in an amazing position, I think we're still in an amazing position. You know, Europe could go down to 8th at the way it's going. So it's not panic stations. It's not even the result, is it? The thing is, this is my third or fourth time this season coming on here, and it's the way we're playing. You know, I've not had an atmosphere at the stadium for a long, long time like that. You know, if ever, you're skipping to games, and whether we're scraping through or whether we've lost, you're buoyed up by the way we've played, and you're excited by the way we've played and what the players have done. This is the first time, it is a kick in the teeth, I think that's a good way of putting it, that we just haven't turned up. And it's the first time all season. So to put that in perspective, that's the positive. But it was so poor. It was so poor. And I think our big players, the players that have been such a positive, just didn't turn up. It wasn't arrogance. We had it's almost like we thought we're just going to turn up. We beat them at home, and we beat them comfortably at home. I was at the game, and it was comfortable. And we did to them what they've done to us today. They weren't really at it at our place. Willian had a few little glimpses, but you know, we just pressed them and put them under pressure. And I think they had 1 or 2 shots or whatever. But yeah, that's the disappointing thing. But you know, let's not start crying just yet. We're still 5th. It's still all there.
There's still plenty of time. I think you know, if this was near the end of the season, could be a bit worse, couldn't it? Becky, before we come to you, Postecoglou said in an interview, we weren't that great, especially in the second half. The first half was even enough. We conceded a disappointing goal. Yeah, I agree with him on that. In the second half, we didn't get to grips with the game. The intensity dropped. Our final third play wasn't great, but it's more the overall play was disappointing. There are things we've done all year we've prided ourselves on, our intensity and tempo, but that wasn't there in the second half. And when asked about Mickey van der Ven's absence, did that lead to Spurs' performance? Then he said, that's not the reason we didn't perform today. Mickey van der Ven's absence is not the reason we didn't perform today. I have to agree with him, Becky. I mean, you can't blame that on van der Ven's absence, can you? It was everybody today, like we said off air.
Yeah, and like we just said then, I think it was more kind of the midfield and maybe the front three. And then, like, when they're playing such a high line, any back four is going to struggle. Even our speedy ones, I can remember they ran through, might have been in the second half, and Porre ran and caught them up and intercepted it. So if we're playing that way, and I wrote, as I do for all that when I'm on, I write like notes while the game's on if I'm not at the game. And obviously we had the 4-1 Chelsea defeat, we had the 4-2 Brighton defeat, and they were very similar. We don't just lose a bit. It's beyond, isn't it? And they're all similar things where we're on the halfway line and they're banding it over and it's much faster and there's much more intensity. He's absolutely right. It's a killer when they concede just before halftime. I hate those kind of goals that you concede. But we didn't even really start second half either. Start second half and they scored immediately. And then all of a sudden we're all looking at each other going, oh my God, he's got to make changes. He's got to make changes. And then they went 3-0 down. And I think then they had the disallowed goal, didn't they? And then it was kind of like this. Højbjerg still standing on the side waiting to come on. And it was all just a bit, chaos is not the right word. It's just like we said, just didn't kind of really interlink and connect. And they were saying in commentary that we weren't stitching passes together. And I don't think it was the back four. I don't think it was Vicario, because I remember I've written down here, he made a couple of saves in the first half. Like 10 minutes, he made that first save and then immediately made another save. So Vicario, again, we've said this in the past, it could have been a cricket score, but it was that kind of Sarr, Bissouma, Maddison, Kulusevski, Johnson had a few opportunities in the first half. There was that one where Son blasted it over, wasn't it, from Maddison cutting in, and then I remember there was one that Maddison did the same thing, but I just didn't really feel like they were going to go in. I don't think anybody is going to think those two chances go in and we go on to win the game. It just didn't feel like it was that kind of game. We didn't have any of the kind of luck that you sometimes need in a match, particularly a London derby away from home. And it just felt like it was just, and it was inevitable. And like, I think, right, bringing Højbjerg on, bringing Bentancur on, some changes in the second half meant that, it wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get into the match itself. There's not a lot for Tottenham in the first half. I've written here, as I'm sure you can all appreciate. 10 minutes gone. Great block by Romero, if you remember that from Pereira, the shot, sliding block there. 30 seconds later, a good save by Vicario. 24 minutes gone. Fulham nearly score again from Muniz. It was a bit of a warning, to be honest. But then Son nearly scores down the other end. Just knocks it over the bar. Usually he kind of puts his foot through those. He just tried to float it and obviously went over the bar. A couple of minutes later, Johnson, quite a tame shot into the keeper. Obviously didn't get the bend on it. Rick, it's fair to say, actually, in that period of the first half, we were coming back into the game, weren't we? And we had those two chances and we looked quite dangerous in parts, didn't we?
Yeah, and we definitely had some moments there. We definitely started to warm up. I mean, especially after the 20-minute mark. And you know what? I think if one of those chances would have gone in, I think it probably would have turned the tide for us. It probably would have just encouraged us, enthusiasm, and all the enthusiasm would have come back into our play, and the energy would have come back into our play. But it just didn't happen for us today, bro. It's nuts. It's actually nuts the way that we can play so well against Villa and kind of have almost every pass, at the right pace, at the right weight, at the right level for things to happen, and then it just doesn't click today. The thing is, like I say, is like I don't think Fulham played that well. I think they played well. I think they played good, but I don't think that they were like Man City-esque. They wasn't like prime Barcelona. Even when we played Brighton, they played very well. Quick passes, left, right, and centre. So It was a tough one, bro. And if we would have kind of taken our opportunities, then I think that, like I say, maybe it would have gone in our favor. But it was just one of those days today, bro, where nothing really felt like it was going to happen. And even when it comes down to Ange as well, I feel that Ange kind of made his subs a bit late. Like Becky was saying there, at 2-0, I think 2-0 was 57 minutes, I think. And I think at that point, you could see that the halftime talk hasn't worked. And there hasn't been no kind of shake up and there hasn't been no real reaction. So, like, bring on your subs at 2-0. Do you know what I mean? Just bring them on. Let's go. Let's get something happening. But it didn't happen, and it took to 3-0, and then the ghost goal 4-0. That didn't happen. Do you know what I mean? For something to change, it just wasn't the Tottenham that we know and love that we've seen all season. But I do think that the positive out of all of that, bro, is it's the shake up, the wake up. Now, I don't think we as fans need any shake up or wake up. You know, when we take a team for granted, or when we need, you know, we 100% believe that we're going to win regardless because it's a team from this country or that country or this division or that division. We know as fans that it's never that simple. And, you know, you would think that the players do too. And there's enough in that team for them to go, listen, let's not take them lightly. Let's go out there and do all of the work that we pride ourselves on, like the boss said, to go out there and earn the result. But I think it was one of those. I think it's one of those where they kind of, like Jamie was saying earlier, they felt that they could just turn up and it would click. And the more they tried, the more it got tougher and tougher and tougher. And at 3-0 down, to climb the mountain at 3-0 down, it was just, yeah, I think it just took the wind out of their sails. But it's a good shake-up and it's a good reminder for all of those new boys and that team, which is pretty new, to go, don't take nothing for granted in this league, or don't take nothing for granted when you're kind of expecting to go out there and win. You got to go and earn everything that you want in this league and in this life. So hopefully that's a positive wake up for him.
Yeah, absolutely, Rick. I'm just going to try something a bit different. Just want to show you this statistic. I do like this sort of thing. If you can all see that, this is the momentum that they're saying the game went in. So obviously the black is Fulham and the blue is Tottenham. There's a big period here from obviously Fulham between minutes 22 to 28 or so had that bit of momentum, and then we had a period of pretty much 13, 14 minutes where it was swinging to us, and then obviously they scored before the half, and then we had obviously a big period of momentum after the 67th minute, but that's kind of when they were 3-0 up. But it does show that we did have a lot of the ball and we were attacking, even though we all know how poor the game was for us, really. I just thought that was quite interesting to have a look at that, because the stats show sometimes a different picture to the actual game, because when you're watching it with your eyes, it was pretty bloody awful, wasn't it? But like I say, looking at stats can paint a very different picture. Jamie, Maddison had a chance that went wide. The cheeky little reverse sort of across the keeper that I thought was in, but it had hit the keeper's water bottle, which was outside the post. What did you make of James Maddison's performance overall today?
Today, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say that it was hard for him to make an impact. I thought after about in that little period there on your stats when it looks like we've had more possession and we've been a bit more dominant, I thought that was when he started to come into it, and we started to come into it a bit, and I thought he's actually going to start making things happen. I think his shot came in at around about that time as well. Might be the time, but so I thought, maybe he's gonna get going, but again, I just don't think that. I think he relies so much on being free to drop into those little pockets and create stuff, and he's one of those players. You know, he's so clever, and that shot was brilliant. It would have been a phenomenal goal because his feet were so fast. But he relies on us protecting those areas with your Basumas, with Sarr, who's doing the running, who's covering the ground, so Maddison can drop into those little holes. And he might be quiet for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then boom, he suddenly, a little 5-10 minute spell, he turns the game. And he kind of threatened to do that a little bit, but it never, it summed up our performance as a whole. We had a little threat, but then actually we never quite got going. I also, like I said, I'll go back to, you know, the point of you've got to have outlets. Kulusevski's got to be an outlet. Johnson's got to be an outlet, and the quality's got to be there. Because if they haven't got the quality and they're not creating those, you know, those holes, they're not pulling those defenders around. Like, we're so narrow. We become so narrow, and we get exposed. And that's exactly what happened. You know, our shape, because of that, because we had no wide threat, you know, we were just exposed right through the middle. They didn't play around the outside of us. I thought Udogie actually, you know, I think we defended pretty well. I thought Pedro Porro he didn't do much today, and I thought he was a little bit far off his man at times. But Udogie looked like a threat, as he always does. I thought the two centre halves, it was our, you know, we were so narrow. I thought it was a very easy game plan for Fulham, and we made life very easy. And I just wanted to make this point: is obviously we're disappointed, and I think this is a credit. This is a compliment to Big Ange. It's almost like we've become accustomed this season to, if we've had a poor first half, you know, you can't wait for them to get in because you think Ange is going to get them all by the scruff of the neck. And his team talks, you know, they're iconic. We know that. I've seen him on YouTube, you know, his interviews and all of that. So you just have so much faith that if we've had a crap first half, he's going to get in there, do the business, and we're going to be a different team in the second half. We just came out flat again. We just came out completely flat-footed. We were under pressure from minute one of the second half, and so I was almost as disappointed in him as I was, you know, our midfield. I was like, come on, Ange, this is what you do. So I think whether he's had a bad day at the office, I don't know. But, you know, like I said, I'm not going to be panicky, but it was a shame. It was a real shame because I had faith that he was going to rally us a bit like he did at Villa. I thought that's what happened at Villa. You know, if it was second half, we put the burners on, Sonny in particular. You know, it was an unbelievable performance in the second half. And I think Big Ange takes a lot of credit for that. Likewise, you've got to ask him a few questions of him today, but not too many.
Yeah, I'm not in the, you know, I've seen stuff on Twitter, people saying, you know, Ange out almost. Christ almighty, really?
No,
Come on. Jesus.
No.
Son has just given quite an emotional... Son has just given quite an emotional interview. He claims defeat was unacceptable and fans deserve more. It's very disappointing and very frustrating. Everybody has to look in the mirror and say it is my fault. It was not good enough. We didn't put in the effort we have put in this season. The performance, the attitude was not good enough. Everyone needs a big wake-up call. In the Premier League, if you're not ready, you get punished. Aston Villa are an amazing team, but so are Fulham. If you're not given 100%, you get punished. You don't get 3 points for free. This is 2 steps backwards. We now need to step forwards. It's unacceptable, including me. It was unacceptable. We are representing Premier League teams. We are representing Tottenham. Love that, by the way. This is not close to what we have been doing this season. It's very sad to watch this. The fans don't deserve this. They are coming here with positive energy and good vibes. Losing this is very tough. The players are very down. That was an interview he gave to Sky. Becky, what do you think of Son? I know it wasn't his best day today, but that's the sort of thing you want to hear from your captain. That's not just sound bites and things people want to say. I love that sort of interview. It's honest, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's a few people messaging me now going, because I have got Son on the back of my shirt here, but there's people going, oh, a typical when Son doesn't play, the whole team doesn't play. It's like, oh yeah, come on. Hey, Ricky. I've got the you can't see it because of my hair. I've got the you know, the thin one, the match shirt one. Sorry. Jack's got Madison on his as well. Yeah, it's kind of like, it isn't. If we had this, there's been games before. He's not Kane. When the team had poor games, Kane can just pull a goal out of nowhere. Okay, and we knew that we were very lucky. There was a lot of times last season where the team played poor and Kane would get a goal for us. Yes, Son didn't play well, but there were lots of people. I'm seeing people mentioning Kulusevski, Werner when he came on, Johnson, and then I had people at halftime going, "Oh, I thought Johnson played well," and then there's somebody else saying, "I thought Johnson played poor." In this game, Son's right. Everybody is disappointed. I agree with what you said, though, Craig. I think we've got this situation where we come out second half and we think it's okay. The way we play, we're not going to change. We're going to keep attacking. We're going to keep going. And maybe we'll get something. I think today the sucker punch was they scored 2 goals either side of half time. And it really felt, even then, we were kind of going to struggle. The thing for me about galvanising, and that's what Son hopefully will do, is galvanise, is that we had the poor result against West Ham, and then we followed it with the Newcastle, which was, at the time, a lot of people felt was our best, before Villa was our best performance. So we've got 2 weeks now. I know the vast majority of the squad are going off on international breaks, which is a point that shows how well we are this season, the amount of players that have been called up for their international teams. But they go away, don't they? And Andrew will probably get them back on maybe like the Wednesday, Thursday, before the Luton game on the Saturday. And we have to go again. I hate that phrase, but we do have to. We have to be galvanised, and hopefully they'll be in communication with each other in all their different parts around the world, and that there will be a reaction at Luton. The thing that's disappointing for me is that we've got our injuries sorted. Yes, Van der Ven was injured, but hopefully he's not out for too long. This was a bit like the Wolves game for me, the home game. We've almost had our best team, our strongest team, and then we have a performance like that. So when we had the times where everyone was injured, people were like, it's okay, we've got injuries. When everybody comes back, things will start to kind of slot into place on the run in at the right time of the season. And I remember thinking at Wolves, coming away from the game at Wolves, going, that was almost our best side, and we put that performance in today. That's the thing that's disappointing for me, is that you think we're not playing twice a week. We're supposed to have all this time to prepare, and then we're having these kind of, like you said, roller coaster kind of inconsistencies that it's very difficult to explain when everybody hasn't shown up. You know, if it's the odd one or person, unfortunately, we're not at that point where we can have one or two that don't perform and we can still get a result. That's very rare. And Sonny's right. I think we disrespected Fulham really today. We felt we were just going to turn up and it was all just going to be magic, and it wasn't. And that's, I think that there's a lot of soul searching, I think, that's required. And Sonny's right there. I'm glad he's angry. I am.
Yeah, 100%. Well, 42 minutes. Mooney scores for Fulham. Cracking cross, cracking touch, cracking goal, I have to say. Rick, I was looking at Dragusin's position there, and perhaps I'm being a bit too harsh, or at the time I was thinking he was a bit slow to get across, but I'm so used to Van der Ven being there and doing that. I'm 100% sure Van der Ven would have got there and slid in. Was it bad defending as a whole from Tottenham, that, or have you sometimes just got to put your hands up and say, do you know what, that's a good goal?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you've got to do that. To me, it was a good cross. It was a good goal. With Dragusin, it's his first start. Do you know what I mean? It's his first 90 in a Tottenham shirt in the Premier League against a side that have got some pace up front as well. Do you know what I mean? And they do have some danger men up there. But for me, I thought it overall. Yes, he made a couple more mistakes in the second half than he did in the first, but overall it was a bit of a good, solid display for him. And I think that he will definitely learn from that. You know, he will learn from how quick that cross came in and how quick the counter press is, you know, and the danger of the Premier League. But he's a very intelligent boy from what I've been reading and from what I've been seeing. Very kind of self-critical, loves to analyze his own performances. He will do that, and he will go back to the drawing board. But he also has to learn how to have a relationship in the game with Romero and with the back four. All of us have said today, before I'm answering this, that the defenders, our defense done the best that they could do. You know, they all right. There was a bit off here and there, but the majority of the time, they were solid. You know, but it was more so the midfield letting those runs straight through the middle of us and letting those balls be overloaded over the top and stuff like that. And so for me, I think for a first game, yes, it's a 3-0 loss, but I think that he will definitely learn from that, pick himself up, and I think there's more good things from him than negative. You know, when he was full of it in the first half, you saw that his passing was sharp. It was, you know, it was full power, you know, and he was brave as well. He dribbled up the field a couple of times as well, and he was brave. And he even had a shot. And I mean, I didn't expect him to score it, but even he had a shot, which I think was maybe a pass but he could have had a shot. Do you know, he was in that position. So overall, I think it's a good performance from him. But I definitely think that whatever those niggles are, and if that means that he has to be closer to his man when those crosses come in, or whether he's got to read the game a little bit quicker, I think he will make those adjustments and make it happen. I think we've got a great deputy there to step in for Romero or Van der Ven when needed, and someone that's going to challenge them both as well. He's very young, like I say, new league, so much more to come from him. But everyone had a bad day at the office today, bro. Everyone. There's no real. I mean, you could say Vicario had the brightest game, but then he conceded 3 goals. So then what? Do you know what I mean? So it's really tough. This game is it's a mishmash. It's a bit all over the place. A bit like Tottenham were today.
Yeah. Tottenham were all over the place in stages today. And I think that's, for me, that was because we're not. Well, we'll come on to the second half, but for me, one shot on target in the first half is not good enough. And for me, again, Romero was probably our man of the match in the first half. I thought he was pretty damn good, Romero. Coming around to you, Jamie, I mean, is this, we're kind of used to a slow first half, aren't we? And that's why I'm usually not that concerned if we have a slow first half, because I think the second half, we all know that we tend to come out and do the business. But there was something about that first half today. I just had a feeling the fat lady was gargling with Listerine. And I just thought the writing was on the wall today. I don't know why. And I wanted to prove myself wrong, but obviously it didn't prove wrong, which is bad, obviously. But this first half thing, how did you feel overall that first half? Did you feel confident we was going to smash it in the second half, or did you get that feeling as well?
Yeah, no, I thought we were. I've become, like I said, I've become accustomed to Big Ange doing his thing in the dressing room. I think he's the master at team talks. He's the master of motivation, it seems. So I wasn't worried. In fact, I thought we would go on and win it 2-1. What I was disappointed in, and I think it might be you, Ricky, or maybe you, Becky, I don't know. It was one of you two because there's no one else on it. But or it might have been a comment. I don't know. But someone touched on the substitutions should have come earlier on. And it was clear to me very early on that, like we'll keep going on about, we were very narrow. So I thought he could have, maybe Richarlison could have come on. Sonny was having no joy. Could he have put Sonny out on the left-hand side? Something, just change it a little bit earlier, just give it a little, or possibly even half time. I think that was a little bit too early, but possibly, but I think it needed to come much, much earlier. I don't think Basuma wasn't at it at all. And that's a big ask. That's a big shout to take him off. But I could have absolutely predicted he was going to get booked. You could just tell he was a bit off the pace. He was obviously going to get frustrated. So for me, I'll be sitting there going, he could potentially get sent off. So I would have shuffled the pack a little bit earlier. But no, in answer to your question, Craig, I was very confident that we would wake up and go on to dominate the second half. I thought, a few changes, an Ange team talk, and away we go. But yeah, just adding my point onto the defensive thing. Van der Ven's a special player. That pace is ridiculous. So you're never going to, every now and again, a player comes along in a team, whatever position it is, and they're a freak. They're irreplaceable. So the bottom line is, every time he's going to get injured, his hamstrings are under so much pressure, at that pace. He's always going to be a bit of a risk, but you can't replace him. We're not going to replace him. That pace, it's a one-off. So it's like Harry Kane. Harry Kane, you reshuffle, but you don't replace. So I think it's harsh to make comparisons in that. Dragusin's been studying Chiellini. He's that sort of defender. I thought he looked really strong in the air. He looks like a beast. He loves a one-on-one battle. I think there's certain games that we would play him in. I think there's certain games that are going to be up for him. He's up against Muniz, who is flying. He's absolutely flying. And he's at game time. Dragusin's coming in with no game time against one of the informed strikers in the Premier League. you're putting him in a difficult position. So looking at it like that, I think he's done really, really well, considering he's playing in a team that isn't firing. So we can't be doing this, saying he's this and he's that and blah 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 and all those. And lastly, before I stop my rant, anyone who's watching this, and I don't want to lose you followers, but I think you got enough. Anyone who's watching this thinking Big Ange should be out, you need to unsubscribe and go and do one and go and put a red and white shirt on, because I don't know what you're thinking. I do not know what you're thinking. So honestly, don't comment. I'm not interested in your views because you know nothing about Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
Well said. Becky, before we just go on to the second half, why did we have mentioned it already, really, but why do you think everything is so slow in the first half overall? I mean, it was today. What is it? What he's obviously not telling them to play like that. It's bizarre, isn't it?
I don't know. At Palace, I turned to the people behind me in the south stand and we went, because obviously Eze had scored that free kick, hadn't he? And we turned and went, do you think they do this on purpose to just tire the team out? Because I think my husband had texted me and said we'd had like 78% possession in the first half against Palace or something. And I said, do you think that it's a technique? Because at Brentford we had like 11 minutes in the second half where we scored those goals. We've obviously had the Sheffield United goals at the end. We've had the Brighton goals at the end. We've had the Palace goals at the end. We seem to have like spells where we play really well. And like you said before, Craig, we did have spells before they scored today. I just, for me, we were watching Sonny's from behind it and it didn't really like feel like he kind of connected with it. But we have like spells of games and it was like, do we play like this where we're conserving energy and then we're then just going to hit them, which I think is why we all said that even though it was 1-0 at half time, we felt that we had enough to be able to go on and win it. And that's why the second goal was such a sucker punch, really. But yeah, I genuinely, I don't know. I completely agree with Jamie. This is the first season of Ange. He always says, judge me on my second season. The injuries that we've had, he had them with Celtic. Players would be injured and then the second season they weren't. And hopefully that will be the same for us. So, yeah, we're in a situation where there's been some fantastic games this season. Even when we've lost some of the games narrowly, we've played well. And I remember, like Kulusevski, didn't he, this week in his interview, the thing about we won when we lost at the Chelsea game, because he said he loved the fact that everyone was there at the end singing our name and cheering us on and they could see what we were trying to do. And Ange tells the players to keep taking those risks and he will take the responsibility. Because as we all said tonight, even going on X a few minutes before we came onto the show, there's these kind of people saying this and saying that and that kind of thing. And I tweeted almost, I think when there was about 10 minutes from the end of the game and went, why do we keep doing this when we have 2 weeks off as well? Because we did it when we didn't play the Chelsea game and because they were in the Carabao Cup final, we had a 2-week gap. And we've done it again. And obviously it just feels worse when we've got 2 weeks because we haven't got a game. That was the thing about last year. Even though the games were boring last year, they were quick and we had an opportunity to turn a result round in 4 days. And we're not having that. And that's where you kind of have to kind of look at the positives, look at where we are in the season, look at where we are in the project. You know, the players that we've brought in, we can see, you just said then about Dragusin, you can see the potential. We've raved about Sarr all season. We've raved about Udogie. We've raved about Vicario. Bentancur starting to come back in. Maddison said himself that he's starting to feel that he's getting back to his pre-injury fitness. And it's that. And it's just, we tried not to get ahead of ourselves last week after Villa. The thing about that is it was in our hands. With having the Chelsea game as the game in hand, things were in our hands. And now we've just gone back to a point where we've got the same games as Villa and United and everything's a bit more on a kind of a level playing field. City have gone and beaten Newcastle tonight in the FA Cup, which means this City game is now going to move. And I was reading yesterday about that might be like the Thursday before the Sunday of the final game of the season. So to have Chelsea and Man City as our games in hand, today felt like the game where we could kick on from Villa and then we've got Luton and then I think we've got West Ham and then we've got Forest and we've got winnable games. And then, of course, we play and we have a game like this. And it's you don't want to lose perspective. You want to sort of see the positives in it. It's just really frustrating when you think that's where it's Spurs. You have the opportunities get missed. And it's like we aren't at that point. I think I'm reading the comments a lot about, Spurs aren't going to get Europe and they're going to get this, that and the other. we've got that run of games, haven't we? We've got Liverpool, Newcastle and City. Now City have moved now, but you know what I mean? That kind of spell in April. I'm not sure we're ready for Champions League yet anyway. We may get 5th and that may be Champions League. I'm not sure we're ready for a 32-game Champions League, which it is next year. Maybe the Europa League is maybe where we need to be. Obviously, all of us want to be in the Champions League. It is the pinnacle, but I'm not sure necessarily we're at that point. So it might be one of those things where actually we want to be in it, but we're maybe not quite there.
Well, Postecoglou on the top 4 has just said in the press conference, I don't see 4th as a prize. The club has finished 4th before. It's finished 2nd before. You can throw all types of things at it. It's reached the Champions League final. You can throw all sorts of things, but this club has achieved things. So 4th is not my end goal. I don't want to finish 4th if we haven't grown as a team and developed as a team. If nobody believes me, then that's fine. Part of the narrative is to push you into these kind of positions where you think that 4th is some kind of achievement that gives you something for next year. It doesn't give you anything unless 4th would be great. And I feel like we're growing as a team and we're creating something that is going to bring us success next year. But 4th is not our goal. It hasn't been. It's not my goal. It certainly isn't my goal. But I get it from the outside. Particularly in the Premier League, it seems like people push you into that position where you succeed or fail just on an outcome. I just don't think that's how you get success. Success is built on, I think, more tangible stuff. If we finish 5th, and if I think we've got a team to challenge next year, then I won't be disappointed. What do you make of those comments, Rick?
I love them, mate. I love them. This is why it's crazy that anybody is talking about Big Ange out or anything like that, to echo what Jamie was ranting about a little bit earlier. And for me, the 2 things that we have running through our club right now is honesty and a lot of heart, you know. And with those things, with our boss, you know, echoing those type of sentiments, and with our captain, Sonny, who kind of lives by those kind of sentiments, and is not a quiet captain. You know, we had Hugo before for a long time, and yes, he was vocal at times, but he was in goal. Do you know what I mean? And when Harry was our main man, you know, he led by example. He wasn't really one to shout and scrap, but he led by example. But Sonny ain't that guy. Sonny is vocal, and the fact that Sonny's come out with such an open and honest interview and assessment of our kind of display today, and then the boss has come out and said something like that, I think those things are really, really positive for us, because he could have easily said, yes, we're aiming for 4th, and we would have gone, oh, he's being ambitious, you know, he's put out his marker and we're going to go for something. This is our goal and this is what we're going for. It's not. That is so far away from what he wants. He wants us to be challenging for everything year in, year out. He wants to push us to do the best that we can do, game in, game out. And it's the same with our captain. Our captain, we know how good Sonny is. You know, not only did he turn down an offer, I think a couple of seasons ago, it was the season where Harry was linked with Man City. Not only did he sign a deal that day, an extension, thinking maybe that he would be up there by himself and he wanted to take the responsibility. But when Sauda came along, he said, no, I've got a lot more to do in the Premier League. And under this manager and with this kind of honesty with each other, but also there's heart running through it. Sonny is heart. He wears his heart on his sleeve. So when he's upset, he's angry, or when he's in a great mood and when he's loving, we all see it and we all feel it, because energy resonates. And that's what's happening with this team. And that's why it could be a positive. That's why this result could actually be a positive for all of them, because maybe last week they thought that they succeeded. Maybe last week they thought that they got it. Maybe last week they thought that they'd arrived at the Ange Ball gate, and they thought, yeah, we know how to get through this and we know how to play this game and we know which way we're going. Well, today turn up and it's going to shake them to their core. So I'm glad a lot of them are angry and I'm glad a lot of them are upset. But with a manager and a captain and the leadership group in a sense as well, but like with a manager and a captain with honesty and heart, as we do have them,
I see us going to work, and that's what's really important. It's not about buzzwords. It's not about headlines. It's not about, it's a game of two halves and all of that jazz. Do you know what I mean? Like, these guys are taking full responsibility. They ain't shying away from it. They are not shying. They're not papering over the cracks. They take full responsibility, and they take that responsibility saying to themselves, you know what, we're going to get this right. You know what, we're going to put in the work, and we're going to do what we need to do to make things right. So I think that that's the biggest positive that can come from today. And that's why I love Ange, the fact that he doesn't wait. He's top four doesn't mean that he succeeded anything. If he doesn't feel that he's got a team to challenge, that should ring like, I don't know, diamonds and gold in our ear holes. Do you know what I mean? That is such a fantastic thing to say to where we're going and how we're building and where we want to be as a club. He's come in to change the lot. And as Becky was saying there, in his first season at Celtic, yes, there were injuries. Yes, there were dips. Yes, there were results that went the other way. But it was a learning season, and they put all that right in their second season. And that's what I believe that Ange and our captain, Sonny, will make sure that happens this season going into next. Do you know what I mean? So the season is not over. It's far from over. Maybe this is just the right thing that we needed, going into those big games, because, Tottenham love a big game as well. There's been many a time that we've felt that there's no way that we're winning that game against City or Liverpool, the beginning of the season. It's not going to happen. Maybe it's going to be a 2-2 draw, and then we end up coming out with the win. Do you know what I mean? Like, we are that type of side. So maybe this is exactly what we need going into Luton, going into West Ham, and going into Forest, for us to not to rest on our laurels and not to be like, we know what Ange Ball is about. Is to actually get out there and make it happen. And also for the boss to take responsibility in the sense of kind of going, okay, look, Basuma, I love you, bro, but like, we need more from you. Do you know what I mean? We know you've had malaria. We know you've had a couple of injuries here and there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you out. I'm going to put Bentancur back in, or I'm going to put Højbjerg back in and go, all right, and cool, we're going to do this, that, and the other, so that they earn their spot as well. That's what's great right now about the everybody being fit. That nobody can rest on their laurels, but that lesson can only be brought home when you do have a dip and when you are off of it, that you are taken out of the team, so that you do miss it, so that you are upset to go, I'm not doing that again. But because otherwise it's like, well, I'm going to play anyway. And we've had those players as well, that regardless of their mistakes or regardless of their poor performances week in, week out, they're going to play anyway because we need them and we're short. And at least they'll turn up for us. This is a different Tottenham, and this is the part of us as fans learning what this new Tottenham is about as well. So there's so much more to come from this side. It's not all doom and gloom. This could be the best thing that happened to our season at this business end right here and right now, so that we don't kind of go into that Spursy, air quotes, Spursy trait or bottle job traits or anything like that. If you really want it, then you've got to work for it, and it works when you work. So get to work.
Well, Severin, it is funny, isn't it, in football, how, you have such a good result like the Villa one, and then you do walk out onto the pitch with probably a bit of arrogance, thinking it's only Fulham, and you get your arse handed to you. And you're right, sometimes you do need that, because there was a bit of complacency today, I thought, from the whole team. And of course, it's difficult to get out of that once you're in that mindset, once the other team's playing so well and you give them encouragement and everything else that goes with it. Okay, well, second half, as we say, Jamie, coming to you, I wasn't too sure we were going to come back into it, and was sadly proved right. But after 49 minutes, it was a bit of a sucker punch, that Lukic goal. For me, there was too much space in the middle of the park, acres and acres of space in the middle of the park. And then Iwobi went past Udogie like he wasn't there. I don't know what happened, but and then obviously a lovely touch for the goal from Lukic. Talk us through that goal. What were the problems, or have I just highlighted all the problems in that, or did it start further up the pitch?
I think I highlighted it at the top of the show. I think it summed up our midfield performance. That ball breaking, and particularly when you've got players in there that their bread and butter is turning the game around, like winning the ball. Basuma's when he's on it, he's so good at breaking up play, and he's so hard to dislodge. And he is a ball carrier. He can carry ball. He twists and turns out of very tight situations and can turn defence into attack very, very quickly. Then Sarr obviously is and I think he'll get better and better at it. Breaking play. You've got Maddison in those little pockets. I just think we had no shape today. We didn't really know. I mean, I was just listening to all of it. I think one goal changes everything. Let's not be too disheartened. I think a goal for us, either side in the first half or early in the second half, the game is different. We're different. I think it never came. It would have been a little bit more out of luck than judgment. But yeah, that's just poor. That's just that is a really poor situation you find yourself in, where we literally are leaving players on their own in the middle of the park. I think if you're looking at it from a technical standpoint, again, I'm going to go on about the width that we were maybe trying to create a little bit, so players were finding themselves a little bit out of position. And Udogie, you expect more from him than that. Not many players get past him, which again sums up it's a bad day at the office. Let's not. I think it's brilliant. I think in terms of Big Ange, what he's come out and said, we had a manager last time that didn't take responsibility for anything and blamed everyone else but himself. So I love the fact that we've got this guy who's willing to puff his chest out and take one for the team. Sonny, every time Sonny's interviewed, if we've had a bad performance or he feels something's not right, it looks like he wants to burst into tears. And I love that. I love it. He's Tottenham through and through. He loves the club. He loves the fans. We love him. And he's our leader. And, that's great. And we got back up. Romero, again, is a massive favourite of mine. And now we've got a manager that everyone believes in and buys into. So it's a blip. It's a blip. We've got to nearly the end of March. And how many times have we had any sort of negative conversations? Because even when there's been some negativity, the Fulham League Cup game, all of that, it's not been negative. It's not been that we haven't had a go. There's not been not a justification for it. This is the first time. So I think that's a win. That is it. And we're still fifth. And we've had a bad performance. That's, like I said, this is my fourth time on the show. And this is the first time I'm talking really in any negative perspective. So I think, I think we've got to take that. I would have taken that at the beginning of the season for, I'd have bitten your arm off for it. So I think, it's a poor goal to give away. It's one to sort of strike off. It's not going to go in the archives, and let's just move on.
Yeah, it's a good way of looking at it. I mean, it would have been worse had we lost 3-0 to Villa at their place, obviously, because they would have, we stopped them getting 3 points last week and we gained 3 points. Just, I think everybody does need to remember that. It just feels such a bit of a letdown after that cracking display in the second half against Villa, doesn't it? And
because I think also because you went into that Villa game, I thought that was going to be a draw, and I probably would have taken that. The kind of form they're in, the players they've got, and I was like, it's at a Villa Park. I thought that's going to be a really tough game. So to go into a game which is so finely balanced and to dominate it and to destroy them, you can't help but be G'd up by that. So it was always going to be, a difficult one. It was always going to be a bit of a banana skin, potentially. Fulham at home, that tiny little ground, the fans aren't on top of you screaming and shouting. They're all drinking their oat milk lattes. So, it's not it's not like going to Villa Park, So I think it was always a tricky one. And unfortunately the players have obviously felt that as well. And then we just I think we got ourselves into a rut. We got into a little bit of a rut. Like I said, one goal turns it around, one goal changes it, get into a rut. Second half's a different kettle of fish. We come out, make that stupid mistake, boom, the game's done.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with an oatmeal latte, all right?
Ricky, I live in Brighton. Oatmeal lattes were born here. Don't you worry about that. I'll have a vegan brownie and an oatmeal latte. Thanks very much.
Oh dear. Well, Postecoglou, another quote from Postecoglou for you. To be fair to the players, it's the first time this year where I felt, especially in the second half, that we just didn't. We're in that position we are because we are in the position we are because every week we've been really, really competitive in every aspect of the game. And even in our losses, I felt like we've hit certain markers in terms of our endeavour and competitiveness. And though that was that was what's missing today, and that was disappointing. That's it, Becky, though, isn't it? It's disappointing that we didn't come out in this second half. And on 60 minutes, Vicario saves from Castagni from the resulting corner. Mooney scored the third, and that kind of killed it, didn't it?
Yeah, and like I said earlier, I think they then almost, I think that's what Nicky said about the ghost goal almost immediately, and you're kind of like, oh, right. It's like we just said, they didn't kind of come out and kick on. It was kind of like, it's like we say, there weren't leaders on the pitch today to say, come on, let's go, which, Sonny was, I think, Basuma, like we said, was quiet, Sarr was quiet. It was kind of like, what happens next? They sort of just kept doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome, and it just didn't happen. And then by the time they'd made the subs were too late. And it kind of, the game was wider and there were more sort of spaces. Bentancur was shooting from outside the area. Werner was shooting from outside the area. I remember Lo Celso did one near the end where he kind of curled it, and it was all just that kind of play that we've seen where it's what we call the Ange ball. It's kind of zigzags around the pitch, one touch stuff, getting it to the byline, crossing it, someone gets it in, whoever it may be. It just wasn't there. It's like we're saying, those kind of patterns of play and those stitches of play just didn't happen. And then, when Maddison comes off and you kind of like, oh, right, we lost Maddison, and then Johnson, I know we have got more strength in depth. We've got Bentancur to come on, and I do think Højbjerg shored things up a bit more. And like we said, there is definitely a better bench than there has been in the past. It just didn't quite do it. Lo Celso didn't. I've said in the past when we've had that Wolves away, we brought Lo Celso, I think, and Hill on, and it just didn't really have that effect. And unfortunately, as good as Werner's been in the last few games and the goals that he scored, he didn't really make an impact either. And then when Son went off as well, it was kind of like, oh, right, this is it, really, it's done. You're just seeing it out.
To be fair to Werner, though, he didn't really have any clear-cut chances, did he? Other than that one that was 4 centimetres away from the...
Yeah, he skied it over.
Yeah, that was unbelievable, wasn't it? Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That was, that was different. That was different. Rick, was this our worst performance of the season, would you say?
It probably is, because of what the boss just said there, in the sense of even when we've lost, we felt that we played well, or we felt that we were unlucky, or we felt that we just got outplayed at certain times. And we can take that as fans. We can go, all right, and cool. If you outplay us, or if you do something the way you deserve it, do you know what I mean? All right, fine. We didn't get the rub of the green in this particular game, in those losses that we've had before, and including Chelsea. You know what I mean? Like, Chelsea was not. It was a loss, but it wasn't a loss. It really wasn't. And I think Kulu summed it up in his letter this week, of how pivotal that was. But today, to be so flat and to be so empty and to be so blunt in attack, I think that is probably why it would be considered our worst loss of the season so far. And the position that we was in as well. Again, that opportunity to kind of, jump up the table and add those 3 points to our total and kind of start pushing for those top spots, or just to kind of have a hand in them. It was one of those missed opportunity ones. But again, it was like when Werner and all of the subs came on, there was that period of time where we had like 2-3 opportunities, Johnson, Werner, and Son, I think it was, like in quick succession, where if that would have gone in, I think the tide would have turned a little bit. And then the extra time added on, we would have been like, because we know we can score late goals as well. So maybe that would have done something. But again, like, I think there might have been some kind of curse on the goal for Tottenham. I don't know what, because anything that we tried was just not happening. Like you said there earlier about the Maddison shot where it hit the water bottle, or Richarlison shot when he had it a bit later on, or just things were not going our way today, at all, but there was that period of time where we could have made that happen. What I do like, though, is, and look, Højbjerg's got, he's got lovers and haters within our fan base. Some really, love and appreciate what he does, and can see where his level is. And yes, we can level up, but the other side that really don't like what he does. But, every time that he's come on, he's given everything, and he is a good impact sub, especially in that midfield. There was one thing, Jamie said, I think it was Jamie or Bex said about leadership. and there was a point where Højbjerg was he was trying to defend, and I think Porro let his man go or something like that, and he turned to Porro and he was like, no. He's like, as in smash him. Like, what are you giving him time for? Go out there and smash him. At this point in time, where the clock, go out there and smash him, get the ball, let's keep it moving. And like Porro's like, what? And he's like, no, listen, go smash him. Like, and that's what you need from a player as well. And that shows his leadership, that shows his experience, and that shows his quality coming off the bench. It's not just a technical quality, but there is also that experience, and it's also that mentality of kind of like, let's go. And somebody who was up for the fight. You know, and as we've all kind of highlighted, but like the midfield didn't have no fight today. There wasn't no solidity today. There wasn't no cohesion today. You know, I'm not saying that that's how they are every week. We've all said that they've had a bad day today, but like you've got to see the difference when somebody like Højbjerg comes on and he's actually demanding something more from Porro, and he would demand something more from our back line as well. Like, you know, if he's going to give it to Porro, he's going to give it to Romero and Dragusin and your doggy there going, no, go get him. And I really liked to see that. I just wished it would have happened at 2-0. I wish it would have happened sooner, because you could see there was no real reaction in that second half, you know. But yeah, we had opportunities. And like Jamie and like Bex have all said very eloquently that, you know, if we would have scored, or if one thing would have gone our way, it could have turned easily. And we all had that faith in our stomach, which again, as Jamie said earlier, it's a win. That really is a win. But on the display, on the fact that it was empty, on the fact that there was, you know, we didn't look like us, and we never looked like us throughout that game, that's why it's the worst win. And we've had bad wins. We've been here on this pod after some bad, apart from Jamie, after some bad wins. But like, you know, so yeah, that's our worst loss of the season. But you know, I think it's going to give us more to keep pushing forward for those next 10 games. We know how good we were at the first 10 games of this season. Now that the majority are back together, and that shake and that wake up call has come, let's see what the next 10 have got for us.
Thanks, Rick. Jamie, what do you make of Peter Simons coming in? By the way, Kulu was shocking today and got serious doubts about him. What's your opinion on Kulusevski and his performances the last couple of games?
I thought he was terrible today. I do agree with that. I thought he was really lackluster. I mean, if I'm honest, I've never. I love his endeavour. I love his determination. I think I've always worried about him being very easy to figure out. You know, he cuts inside a lot, and you sort of know what he's going to do. I'm also always very surprised he gets away with it a lot of the time, and to the point where I think he should get more goals. But it's a really difficult one, because, like I said, today he was terrible. Today I think he was one of our worst players, and I can't believe it. I think he played the full 90 minutes, didn't he? I mean, yes, that's a massive question mark for me. I don't understand that. I mean, we've got options. We had options to change it about. So I really don't know. And yes, I agree with that comment there. Robinson was excellent. I thought he was. I don't know if he did get man of the match in the end, but if he didn't, he should have done, because he was brilliant, and he was attacking as well. And I thought he just put him in his pocket. Yeah, I thought Kula was bad. I think maybe he is getting figured out. If I'm honest, if we progress, let's say we get in the top 4, top 5, we scrape into the Champions League. I find that, like Becky said, it's a bit daunting. Are we ready? But at the same time, I'd be really excited to see what Ange does with us as a Champions League team, because I think Dragusin's a really good example of someone who chose us over some big clubs. You know, he could have gone to Bayern, and I think that's the Ange effect. And I think Ange is brilliant in a room. I've never been in that. He's never tried to sign me, weirdly, but I think he's great in a room. I think he's a real motivator, and you know, we've all bought into him, and I think players do as well. And you can see that. So I'd be really interested to see how he gets on with a Champions League behind him, to say, look, we're playing in the Champions League. I think that opens up the market for us a lot more. Do I see Kulusevski staying with us on that journey and a big part of that journey? My honest opinion is no, because I think at that level, I think he's found wanting, and I think when he first came to us, loved him. Him and Bentancur, I think top draw, and he was so good because he has that unknown effect. You know, he was quick, like I said, he works hard. He was attacking, but then, you know, if you're a little bit one-dimensional and you're starting to cut inside all the time, these are top defenders, these are top teams. They're going to figure that out, and I think that's been happening more often than not this season. If you then step that up, you've got to ask yourself why why they let him go. You know, Champions League team. I don't think he's one for me. I'm probably going to get shot down for this, but I don't think he's one for the future. I think he's found his level. He's done a good job, but I think his days at Spurs, as we start to progress and move on the way we are, I think they're numbered.
Do you think?
I think his role was shown at the Palace and the Brighton game when he played down that wing. He was there to exhaust the left backs, to kind of twist and turn and tire them out. Johnson then comes on and then has those assists. And I think at Villa, I said that I thought Kulusevski was an unsung hero at Villa because he made that lovely assist to Son's goal. There was other passages of play where he was doing pre-assists, I think, making interceptions, and Sarr got the ball once, and there was another one maybe with Maddison. And I think when it works, it's amazing, and it just looks so good. And I remember Pep saying after the City games that he loves Kulusevski. I said to somebody that I think it was the Brighton game. Was it Brighton game when Romero scored? And I said I thought the celebrations when everyone was going absolutely crazy in the South Stand, Kulusevski was a bit sort of tentative, like he didn't want to be trodden on. He didn't want anybody to kind of catch him. That maybe there's something else. There's maybe a muscle injury or something that he's kind of carrying that is stopping him kicking on. Because like I agree with what Jamie said then. That first season when he arrived with Bentancur in the January, it was just, I remember that person that was tweeting about him, wasn't he, saying about he was so slow and that's why Juventus got rid of him. And everyone was always tweeting him back going, he's not, he does this, he does X, Y, and Z. And it's something's not quite right this season. And despite, like Ricky said, the letter that he's come out with this week to the Spurs fans to say how much he loves it here, feels so supported, in a season when actually he's had a fair amount of criticism. He has had people sort of saying he's not quite been where he's at, but he's still saying he knows what he has to do and he knows how he's going to improve. And like I said, I think at Villa he looks so good, but I agree, amongst a lot of players, he did not play well today. And on my notes that I wrote in the first half, just kind of a comment I wrote was, why is he not taking players on? Why is he not running to the byline? And he lost the ball too much today. Now, of course, Johnson has done similar things. And Johnson came out this week, didn't he, and say he wanted to thank all the people that have supported him and backed him when he's had all of the criticism. And I think we've said many times this season that of the front three, whether it be Son, Johnson, Kulusevski, Richarlison, Werner, that kind of connection of players, it's not quite there. And Kulusevski is probably part of that. And he would say himself that he's maybe not where he needs to be, but he had such a poor season last season, didn't he? I think he didn't like Conte's ways. He wants to sort of see an improvement in himself this year. And again, for him, there's maybe an adjustment that he's having to make, and he's not quite there. But let's not forget, we have games like Villa when he works, it's brilliant. And he was great against City again this season as well. So I think he's right. There is something that's not quite right, and I can't put my finger on it. It's just I do think that times he's there to play, and then he brings Johnson on. Now, of course, with Richarlison being injured, Son has to go into the middle. We've got Werner, and so there's again there's lots of sort of alterations, aren't there? And I think maybe Ange would say that the way he wants to utilize Kulusevski is different than he's had to do so because of injuries and changing in personnel.
Becky,
go on.
Sorry, just Beck or anybody, if you want to jump in, you say you've got to let Kulusevski roam all over the pitch to get the best out of him. Is him in the Maddison number 10 role better for Kulusevski, do you think, rather than, because he does frustrate me on the wing sometimes, because like you say, he's going to just cut in on his left foot because his right foot isn't obviously as good as his left. And people would argue, yeah, well, I mean, personally, it drives me mad when a professional can't use both feet. it does drive me mad. But other people say, well, look at players like Messi. You know, he's all left-footed, but that's Lionel Messi. You know, so you kind of let him off that one. Do you think Kulusevski could? There's a place for him in the middle.
Well, when Madison was injured, he was moving in, wasn't he? And I remember saying to somebody one of the games, whether again it was Brighton or Palace, I can't remember which game, but there was a game where I think that game he played 3 positions. So he started on one wing, went in the middle for a bit, and then finished on the other wing. So, and people, I'm reading the comments, and people they can't believe that he completed the game today and that sort of thing. And yeah, I think like we said a lot, Ange wants everybody to be a utilised player that can play in various positions, and Kulusevski is the same. When you kind of see him from the south stand and you can kind of look over the whole pitch and you can see when he's playing in the middle and how much he is sort of like the Madison role, sort of occupying and looking at things. When he's then out on the wing and he can't beat the first man, or he gets tackled and it goes out for a throw in, you're like, oh. But again, listening to his letter this week, he was saying that he likes playing in the middle, plays there for Sweden, and then he plays in the wing for us. So again, it's like I think he's not sure, but he wants to do whatever Ange tells him to do. Like Porro said at the beginning of the season, he will do whatever he's told to do, and he will learn to do whatever it is. But I agree with Jamie. Something is not. It's not quite there yet.
What was you going to say, Rick?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, for me, I still don't think we've seen the best version of Kulu as yet. Do you know what I mean? I think he has had niggles here and there, but again, he's another one that is a self-assessor. He's another one that his biggest critic is his sister, who I think is called Sandra, from what I remember, but who really slags him off and really kind of gets him going. And if he thinks he's had a good game and he hasn't, well, she lets him know real quickly. But I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. I did think that when he was in the middle, he was a bit more effective in the sense that he is strong. He does have a turn of pace, and that left foot confuses a centre back more than it does the left back of the opposition's left back. Sometimes, like you said, Jamie, he can be read on which way he's going to turn and which way he's going to go. But I think that when he was inside, he was a little bit more dangerous and he was a little bit more unpredictable as well, because I don't think the centre-backs knew what he was going to pull out next or which way he was going to turn or dart. And yes, he doesn't use his right foot a lot, but he does have a right foot. We've seen him score 2 goals with that right foot. Do you know what I mean? I think this season even. So he does have it. It's just when he chooses to use it. So I think as a young player, I do think that we haven't seen the best of him, and I think that he's accountable to his mistakes, and when he has a bad performance. But I think that he's a dynamite player, and there's something in him which I think that once he does explode, once we do see, that consistent, dominating, ruthless Kulu, then I think that you'll be happy that you stuck around, really and truly. I'd say give him a minute, give him a while, give him an opportunity to kind of make it right, especially under this manager and in this team, because he is trusted. And kept him on for the full 90 because he is trusted. When he doesn't play, you do see a bit of a difference in the way that the battling aspect of it. We can always have a winger that hits the wing and crosses in, but that battle, he's always up for a battle. So, I wouldn't like to see him go, and I think there's so much more to come, and I think that he will achieve that at Tottenham.
Rick, just staying with you, 64 minutes, Paulina scored, but it was offside, thank God, because that would have been really quite embarrassing, because I think they possibly would have gone on to get 5 or 6 of that fourth gone in, where it had gone right down. For 65 minutes, triple substitution, Madison, Sarr and Bissouma went off. As we've said, that's a whole midfield for Bentancur, Werner and Højbjerg. Was it too late for you that? Should Ange have made changes earlier?
Yeah. Like I've said it a bit earlier on in the show, I felt it should have at least happened at 2-0. Do you know what I mean? For me, I was looking at it at like 55, 57-ish, and I was like, well, the boys have had 10 minutes and we haven't had much reaction right now. So as soon as that second goal went in, I'm like, mate, you got to make that change now, because there has been no wake up. There has been no reaction. There has been no, let's go and change the game. Do you know what I mean? I think Destiny S just put in the comments there,
that they feel that subs should have happened at half time, which I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying, but I think with Ange, I think it would have been too early. I think Jamie said this earlier. I think it would have been a little bit too early. I think he would have given these team talk, and he would have expected those boys to go out there and give a reaction, which we have all seen them give a reaction in the second half. That's why we all believe that there was going to be a reaction in the second half. There wasn't after 10 minutes. And that's when I think at the very least, that's when you should have made the changes. If not when 2-0 went in and gone, all right, and cool, well, it's not working. Because we can all see that midfield wasn't working. And Ange is honest. He saw that the midfield wasn't working. That's why as soon as it went 3-0, he was prepping the subs. But as soon as it went 3-0, he took the whole midfield off. So he saw it. I just wish he would have seen it at 2-0. And I think that maybe it could have been a little bit better for us.
Yeah, I agree, and like Destiny just put another good comment on. Just like Poch was slow to react with subs. I agree with that. It used to frustrate the hell out of me, Pochettino. But look, that's why we're here, and he's the manager. What do we know, But for me, I was never a massive Mourinho fan. But what I did like about Jose is the fact he would make subs at half time, and sometimes even before if it wasn't working. It obviously didn't always work out, but I do like it when a manager makes changes at half-time if the game's not going your way. But hey, look, I'm not the manager. None of us are. So just coming round to you, Jamie, 68 minutes, Son crosses and Johnson misses. Not quite sure how he didn't manage to get a touch on that one, but probably worse than that. A minute later, as you mentioned earlier, please talk us through how Timo Werner missed that from a yard out. I'm not even sure it was a yard, but that was a pretty bad. It was worse than the Haaland miss the other week, wasn't it?
It was worse than the replay because in real time you thought he was under a bit of pressure, he didn't see it, or it came in too quickly. I mean, what can I say? At least the Johnson one, he was offside, so I think it wouldn't have counted. So I'm just fucking that. That's I mean, especially he scored. He scored last week. He's had he started to like get his eye and his confidence seems to be a little bit higher. Still got a million miles to go, and question mark still for me if it ever will get there. But I mean, that goes in. I don't know if we go on, but we certainly make a game of it. Those changes have been made. We started to have a little bit of success through the middle. Who knows? We get back to 3-2. Well, at least we have a go. I can't begin to even explain that. I don't know. I'm stringing out this as it is because he's just an absolute sitter that he could have tripped shoelaces and fallen on, and it would have gone in. So I don't know. Would
you sign him still in the summer, Jamie, for 15 million?
No. Well, 15 million. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, it's absolutely he should be here. It's a no-brainer of a deal to get him here. It's not a lot of money. I just don't know. His confidence for me, I don't know if it's repairable. I think he's started to show little glimpses. I mean, 15 million is worth a punt, isn't it? I suppose it depends on what other business is about. It depends on where we're at. It depends on what competition we're in. If we're in any European competitions, again, is he? 15 million. It's worth having him there. I suppose. I would say so. Yeah, probably. In the hope that Ange has got more time with him, can spend the pre-season with him. Working on his confidence. He obviously needs an arm around him. He's been shattered. Chelsea absolutely killed him. He's gone. He's left not even half the player than when he arrived. So I think there is probably a player in there. He's a long way off showing it, but 15 million, why not? Going back to the substitutions thing, I don't think he should have made substitutions at half time. I don't think it warranted it. At 1-0 down, I felt there was still enough that Big Ange could have done. I think it should have come earlier. Like Ricky said, I think it was very clear that second goal went in. I think then we go, right, we're not at it. Let's change it up. I don't understand. I think we've got quality in our team to change it with him without making substitutions. Particularly, we've got a right winger who is left-footed. So why does that never? And I've mentioned this on the pod before when I've been on there before. Why is that never a swap? Just for 5 minutes. Fergie used to do it all the time. You know, you get Giggsy would drift over onto the other wing. And McManaman used to, like Liverpool used to do it all the time. Like McManaman would drift over, and it's a recipe that's always worked, because all of a sudden, whoever's marking you you're up against a different prospect, different player. It's like a boxer turning, you know, suddenly switch hitting. You know, he's an orthodox fighter, but all of a sudden, for a couple of minutes, he goes southpaw, and it just, you know, gets you thinking. It puts you on the back foot a little bit, and you have to readjust. And within that time, that's when you can turn teams over. I don't know why we don't do it, particularly when, for me, Kulusevski could quite easily slip over onto that left-hand side. And Johnson is quick. You know, if he's going to cut in, that's what Kula's doing anyway. So I don't understand it. 5 minutes, boom, you two swap over, or you just drift. So, yeah, so then we don't have to make changes. If we're starting to do things like that, it's not about substitution. We can change it from within, and that's what all the top teams do. You know, the Man Cities, Liverpool, they're all fluid, you know, and you've got players that just drift in and out. So if Kula wants to do that, if he wants to be that player that roams, then why isn't he?
Yeah, I agree with Miss Naughty here. Perhaps I'm a bit old-fashioned, right foot on the right, left foot on the left. And I think you gave the example earlier. I know they played 4-4-2 generally, but back in the day when Manchester United had all that success, Giggsy on the left and Beckham on the right was outstanding. Sorry, Becky, were you going to say something there? Just before?
I was just going to. I think I was going to say the same thing. I think the value for Werner, it seems in the market for someone who has got European experience. I think when he was playing for Leipzig and then he went back to Leipzig, if we are whatever competition we are in, barring an absolute disaster, we are going to be in some European competition next year, and he would be, I think, a little bit of experience. I've got a feeling he will stay because the club are constantly putting out like videos and things with him on that, aren't they? So it sounds like he is going to probably, or he's happy to stay and want to. I do also think, I agree with Jamie, that he probably needs a summer with Ange. When we've kind of heard him talking, he's completely different to who I thought he would be. When I saw him as a Chelsea player, I thought he was an arrogant little kind of, I didn't really like him at all. And I really like him for Spurs. I really like his kind of way. And I just think with the way we've got our kind of team spirit and all of that, I think a summer with Ange, it would really be. And I agree with the comments that he wouldn't necessarily be a starter. He would be somebody as kind of like our squad depth when we are playing twice a week. I just think it's experience as well, because we do need a mixture of kind of experience. I think we've all said there about when Højbjerg's come on. There's a lot of people Højbjerg don't want at the club anymore. But sometimes, as Ange said this week, when he comes on towards the end of games, he's got like a job to do. It's just when we need him to come and change the game, that's tricky. The other thing, going back to Werner, is with Solomon being injured so much, we thought that Solomon was going to be an extra winger, didn't we, this season? And that's not really happened. So I think in terms of that, then I just think Werner would be a useful contribution for the club, really, and the squad.
Yeah, I agree about Solomon as well, because he did have a cracking game against Burnley, didn't he? And I know people say that's only Burnley, but you know, I thought he was playing well. He got very unlucky with his injury, didn't he? Okay, if this works, everybody, I'm just going to play a reaction from the manager.
And, you know, results can be good like they were last week, or they can be bad like they were today. But the performance today will disappoint you, I expect.
You know, we weren't great, especially in the second half. First half, I thought it was kind of even enough. We considered a disappointing goal. But, you know, in the second half, once they scored the second, I just felt we didn't really, you know, get to grips with the game. Our intensity dropped, and, you know, especially here, it's very hard then to sort of game minute.
It was a really open game, particularly first half, wasn't it? There were actually a lot of chances in the game. You'll be disappointed given how many, I haven't seen the stats yet, but how many opportunities, final third entries, all that stuff that you didn't score today.
Yeah, our front third play wasn't great, fair to say. But, you know, I think it's more the overall play that is more sort of disappointing, because, there are some things we've done all year. We've kind of prided ourselves on in terms of our endeavour, our intensity, our tempo, and I just thought it wasn't there, especially in the second half. So, you know, that's something we need to kind of understand, that if we don't bring that, we're going to make things difficult for ourselves.
And obviously, Mickey van der Ven has become a very important player for you. You missed him back in November and found it difficult to cope with at first, and he's missing now. Anyone would miss him. He's done really well since he came to you.
Yeah, but that's not the reason we didn't perform today. I don't think Mickey van der Ven is the reason we didn't play to our levels today.
Do you feel a bit frustrated because it's kind of one step forward, one step back? An unexpectedly big win at Aston Villa last weekend and then an unexpectedly big defeat here today.
Yeah, I don't think that's a correct characterization. I'd say it's more like 4 steps forward and 1 step back. Because if we were going 1 forward, 1 back, we'd probably be in 18th position, not where we are. So it's a disappointing day. We've got to take that, and we've got to take the pain of that, and it's part of our growth. Happens to the best teams in the world. Happened to us. We've just got to learn from it and move on.
There's interesting comments from Ange there. What do you make of that, Jamie?
I mean, I totally agree. I think we've all pretty much said that, and in this last hour and a half. And I think the most important thing, why do they say such stupid things? It's a bad day at the office. It's a bad game, and the positive of that is we haven't been talking like that at all, really. Maybe in little sections throughout this season, but this is the first time we've gone, and like he just said, the best teams in the world have days like that. And it's all part of our growth. So I completely agree. It's still positive. It's still been a brilliant season. It's not over. It's far from over. The atmosphere in that stadium is the best it's been since the heady days of the Champions League final and all those games. And that's a long time ago now. So I think we're moving in the right direction. He's doing a brilliant job, and I'm right behind him.
Absolutely. Well, there's 1,347 people watching us, so thank you very much for watching the show on a very difficult match day, of course. Let's. Very good. I like that. Very. But look, we've heard from Ange, so now let's hear from Marco Silva.
Marco, firstly, many congratulations. Another really, really good home win.
Yes, great win for us. Big win. And well deserved too. Throughout the game, I think we were on the pitch. We deserved the 3 points against a very good side. Tough side to play against, but we were really solid the way we planned the game and the way the players executed the game. On the ball, we were always really. We show a treat for them every time we connect our game. We connect some passes between us, playing through the pressure, sometimes in behind them as well. I think we did really well. Our first half was at top level, probably one of the best so far this season. The way you play, the way we're solid, the way you press them, the trigger for the pressure did work really well, and we executed really well as well, and we deserve. In the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes, we did create very good chances around their box. We haven't scored. Crucial moment that we scored the first goal. What a finishing, what a cross from Robinson, and what a finish from Rodrigo. And of course, the way we started strong again the second half, and we almost killed the game. Overall, complete performance from the boys. They did it brilliant. First half, brilliant, really. And the fans as well, they were at top level.
It's a year since Tottenham failed to score in a game. People will remember your goals, but that's a really significant achievement.
Yes, and to achieve that and winning the game, and more than that, playing in our way. It's not okay. You can go to play against Tottenham, but you clear face them. We match them in all the aspects of the game, and to have this feeling with a clean sheet against a side that they have been scoring. They are brave. They have a way to play really brave. I have to say that this evening we are really brave too, and we deserve the 3 points. But it's a very good feeling. Definitely, is a very good feeling. Not just because we won, the way we did it. Keeping a clean sheet is really important for us.
I obviously want to just ask you about Rodrigo Muniz, he's come to England as a very young man. I don't think you can hide the fact that at times he struggled a little bit, but he's hit an unbelievable bit of form at the moment. He looks a proper player now.
Yes, and nice to see him, and the work that he's been doing so far since 2021 is paying off right now. For a young Rodrigo, when he joined us, and when I decided to buy him, when I pushed the club to buy him, I saw a really talent on him. Some things that I really appreciate in a striker, in a number 9. When he came with 20 years old for our football club, not speaking one word in English. In that moment, he was not even a starting 11 player in Brazil. Of course, it was a tough move for him, but I kept the faith on him. Of course, they were 2 years not brilliant for him. The first season in Championship, he did really well with Mitrovic in front of him, even so he was really useful for us. Last season was not the best, of course, and now this season he got the chance. He stepped in the right moment when he got the.
Okay, I think we've heard enough from him. But Rick, he is a good manager, isn't he, Marco Silva? You're on mute, fella. There you go. I can't.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah, back in. All right, lovely.
Yeah, you're good.
I was pressing the button. He wouldn't unmute me. Yeah, no, he's a good manager, man. You know, he definitely has a style of play, and he believes in his style of play. And you see that from all of his sides. They come to play football. They don't come to sit behind the ball at all. And they done well. They done well, you know. So good luck to him. Good luck to Fulham. I would just say, I know we've been banding about Werner for a minute. I would just say there was a great thing that the boss said earlier on in the week, which was it was too early to make that decision on whether to buy him or not. Which I kind of come from, like, let him earn it. If he wants to be here, let him earn it. Let's not give him the contract now at this point in time when we've only seen a glimpse of him. Let it be something that he achieves. If we're to give him the kind of the shirt and to give him the contract, you know, I think that's always a positive thing to do. And the only worry that I have, even though it's 15 million, the only worry that I have is a foreign player spot within the squad. And then if that number one target is 50, if we're 15 million away from that number one target who we want on the wing, who is, you know what I mean, and we don't end up spending that 15 million because we spent it on Werner, that's my only thing. So if you've got your number one target in that position and you don't think Werner's the man, but you want to put that money and that foreign kind of registration squad number to your number one target, then great. But if you can bring him in and shuffle the pack a little bit, then but let him earn it, basically, is what I'm saying. But yeah, well done to Marco. Let's keep it moving. I don't care about him, bruv. I don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting to hear from the other managers and their side of the game, but that's generally when you beat them and see how they saw the game. Do you know what I mean? So, but we have to show it for balance because we are a balanced channel, I like to think anyway. So, Becky, just coming to you, finish off the game. Richie came on. It's good to see him back on the 80th minute for Johnson. 87th minute, Richarlison fires wide and kind of summed up the day we had in front of goal. And then final substitution, Lo Celso came on for the last 5-10 minutes. Becky, if you had to give, and I know this is probably a really rubbish question, but who was your Spurs man of the match today, or just wasn't there one?
I think I sort of said earlier on, didn't I? Maybe Vicario because of some of the saves that he made in the first half. I think we touched on possibly Romero. I said I actually thought, you know, I was Dragusin. I think I'm reading in the comments he's maybe tired towards the end of the game and he hasn't had match minutes, and that maybe showed. But like I said, it's funny. We've said this before, and we've had games where we've lost maybe 2-1, and we've said defenders, and it's kind of it. I think because the midfield was so completely non-existent, and I'm just reading that some of the ratings have been given for them being like 3s and 4s for midfield. I think we have to give it kind of to defenders. So I didn't think our fullbacks were as influential today either. So yeah, I would say Vicario, Romero, or Dragusin. Just interesting about that video that you showed there. A lot of people, and I noticed it as well, it's really disappointing that we haven't scored. Even Jack was sat next to me going, come on, let's keep going. Let's keep that record going. Let's have at least get one goal. Because, of course, aside from it has been a full season now, it's 39 games, is that it's affecting goal difference as well. So after the goal difference being improved last week after the Villa result, we've now gone back to a situation where Villa have got plus 18 and we've got plus 17 again. We have still got 17 more goals than United, but it's little things like that. And I think that's where when we maybe felt that, a goal at the end, and we said earlier, Spurs will continue to play that way. You know, you bring in on Lo Celso and you want him to score, you bring in on Richarlison, you want them to score, and bring on Werner and you want them to score, and then you've taken Sonny off and you've taken Maddison off, and it's kind of like we don't really have those sort of players. Obviously, we may get Valise back in the summer. We've got Bergval coming in, isn't it? So there are players that Dane Scarlett, players like that. But yeah, so for me, when we knew the game was over, it was disappointing we didn't score. I wanted to I hate it when the goal difference comes into it at this sort of time of year after us improving it last week.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that was good to get above Villa on the goal difference, and then obviously now I think they play tomorrow, don't they? So they got a chance. But obviously, West Ham. We need West Ham to do us a favour, which is very, very difficult to say. Obviously, Ange said in his press conference yesterday, he was talking about fans all over the world, and he wants people in the stadium that are top passionate Tottenham fans. And I love the fact we've got fans all over the world, all fans all over the world watching this podcast right now, and big love to you. And I was talking about this with Chris actually, and he was saying, who's to say who's the most committed? The Australians, the Far Eastern fans, the American fans, to name but a few. They're getting up 3-4 in the morning to watch us. Some of them have days off, or not days off work, but mornings or afternoons off work, so they can watch the game. So there's nothing to say about commitment. Who's to say they're any less committed than us that go to games or that live 10 miles away from the stadium? So I just think this club is gathering fans all over the world in tens of thousands every week, and the money's rolling in for the club. Let's not beat about the bush. And with Ange saying we need another centre back in the summer as well in the press conference, that was interesting to me. So he obviously, where does he see Ashley Phillips in all of this? He's been playing fairly well down at Plymouth, but is he not seeing him as one of his options next season? That was a surprise to him say that, but apparently they know the positions we need to strengthen in. I think we've all got our own ideas on that, and it'll be an interesting summer to see where we're going to strengthen, regardless of whether we're in the Champions League or the Europa League. I think I'm going to be confident enough in saying we are going to get European football next year. I don't think even Spurs could mess that up, but perhaps I've jinxed that now. Hello in the USA. Tell us in the world where you're watching from. That'd be good. I'll try and put a few on the screen. Okay. You'll be pleased to know that's the game discussed. So we move on now to the international break. As Becky said, it's really annoying that we've got an international break. We go into it losing. Really frustrating, but it is what it is. So after the international break, we have Luton coming on the 30th of March. Rick, must-win game, isn't it? I know they're all must-wins, but we've got to bounce back, haven't we?
Yeah, no, we've got to show a proper reaction. Hey to Hong Kong as well. Sending love out to the USA and to Hong Kong and to Sydney, Australia. Wow, amazing. But yes, Luton is a very tough game. It's very much a similar game to today, where you can easily kind of overlook them or you can take them for granted. But this is where that reaction comes in. This is where that work comes in now. This is where that mentality and that growth, when you learn a lesson, this is when you show it. It's the next hurdle, right? And Luton's going to be the next hurdle. So it is time to kind of put all our kind of best feet forward and not only show us, but show the whole league what we're about. That yes, it was a blip. Because if we go in and make the same mistakes, then it becomes a trait. Do you know what I mean? And like Jamie said, that this is a blip. This is going to be like, the one time that we can say we've had a negative result in the league. So let's show them all. Let's get the faith back. Let's get the momentum back. Once we come back off of international break, we've got the run of games, so we can start building some momentum. We can start getting some rhythm going. But it's all down to them. And I do believe in Captain Son and my manager and the rest of those boys there that they will sort it out and they will kind of go out there full guns blazing and show all of us fans, to say sorry for the disappointment of this week. And to show the whole of the league that, we're not here to just be kind of rolling around and kind of, turning up for a game here or there, that we're going to have, we're going to dictate something in this league, and we've got some big games coming. So it's against the Lutons and against the Foresters and against the West Hams. We've got to turn up and we've got to show them. And I believe that we will.
Becky being asked if there's vodka in there. No, sadly not.
No, I had some. I was drinking last night and ended up going to bed at 3:00 and had 3 hours sleep. So I was like, I didn't drink at all during the game. I was like, no, I'm feeling I've
Fair
been very
enough.
good. I've been rehydrating today.
Jamie, coming on to Luton, as Ricky's mentioned there, I love Luton. I must admit that they are not my second team, but they're fast becoming a favourite of mine. I would say I want them to stay up, Luton, but obviously we're going to want to be turning them over. They've had some mixed results. Obviously, they lost 4-3 the other night at Bournemouth after being 3-0 up. It's not going to be easy though, this Luton game, is it?
No, definitely not. And I'm with you. They've really won me over, and they've won the hearts of a lot of people. The way they play, the way they set up. Obviously, they've had that horrible situation with Lockyer. You know, the emotional journey they've been on this year. So I hope they stay up. But I think we have to go out in that game and show what we're about. You know, it's a difficult place to go when it's there. Kenilworth Road is tiny. You know, the fans they've been so vocal. You know, full credit to their fans, loving their experience. But they're coming to Tottenham Hotspur. They're coming to that amazing big stadium against a top team, and we've got to show the difference. Simple as that. You know, there's no excuses. There is absolutely no excuses. It can't be any last minute winners in that game. We've got to go out there and dominate. And I don't think I'll be alone in saying that's all I will really accept. We are a better team than them. Technically, we've got better strength in depth than them. You know, we're a bigger club by a country mile. We've got to show that. I want them to stay. I love them. I think they're brilliant. I think they've been great for the league. I think they've got some really good players, but we have got to bounce back from this in style, 100%.
Yeah, Becky,
When I was
think
coming, I was coming
so-
back from the was it the what game did we play? The Brighton game, was it when they played Villa? Didn't they? And Villa, they got back to 3-3 or 2-2, and then Villa scored, didn't they, near the end?
Yeah.
And today's game, they scored in the last minute. So Luton will go to the end. They will keep going a bit like we do. So I think completely agree. I think we've got to score. We've got to outscore them pretty early on because they will keep going. Watching the game today, that you could tell that neither team wanted to lose. So I don't think it would be like that at Spurs. I think both teams will go for it, and it will be quite an open game. But yeah, I'm the same. You know, Luton, I think it's a great story. You know, being in the conference and moving through the leagues and the way they play, but then, you know, there are no givens. Burnley have won today, and we only just scraped through Sheffield United at home. And yeah, we're gonna have to have reaction. But like I said earlier in the show, we had a reaction after Wolves. We had one after the West Ham Chelsea. You know, I do think we've got it. It's a shame today because our away record's been really good this season. But I do think with the home crowd behind us, you know, we were favourites today, probably before it started, but we will be huge favourites against Luton. But yeah, I'm the same. I want to stay up, but we need quite a significant win that day, really.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm gonna go for a 3-0 Tottenham win. Becky, what are you gonna go for?
3-1. We don't have clean sheets. That's why last week was such fun. We just don't have them as hard as we try. So 3-1.
Rick, what's your score prediction?
I'm going a big one, my friend. I'm going 4-1. I'm going 4-1.
Love it. And Jamie, what's your?
I would have said 3-1. I'd go with Becky. I'll say 3-1. I don't think we're going to keep a clean sheet, but I think we will be 3-0 up.
Oh right, okay.
That's nice. That's nice.
I like this one. Look, Tottenham 6, Luton Town. That's we got a 2-1. So I think look, it's a must-win game. I know it's always ridiculous. I find it ridiculous when we say that, but it is a must-win. You know, we've got to bounce back, but look, they've got 2 weeks to prepare now. Let's hope for a fairly quiet international break as regards our players, and hopefully they all come back and no injuries.
The ultimate outcome for this little next sort of month or so period is we build a bit of momentum. We beat, you know, definitely be great to beat West Ham. Obviously the Forest Luton game, and then Arsenal are really relying on a win with us to keep them there, and we absolutely kick their asses. That'd be like winning the Champions League for me.
One of the good things with a draw in the Champions League for them is getting Bayern. They've got Bayern, haven't they, either side of our fixture? So those matches we're kind of like in the middle. So it'd be great if they lost all 3 of those matches.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. anyway, we're dreaming. Let's concentrate on Luke.
Right, on that note, I think we're going to go 1,398 people watching us across all the platforms. Absolutely phenomenal. So thank you very much for tuning in and watching us tonight. Tough one, as I say. Thanks to all the guests, Becky and Jamie. Becky, what are you up to? Where can people find you if they want to give you a follow?
You can find me on X, but if you see me and Jack down at Spurs in the South Stand or in any of the nearby pubs or on the high road, give me a wave, say hello. But yeah, like I said, thanks for having me on. It's great, been great to chat. I think we've been quite fair. You know, we haven't sort of been too negative. We sort of tried to look at kind of positives, but it's disappointing, and it is disappointing. But I do think for your own kind of mental well-being, don't go on X for a few days. Leave it till maybe Monday, because it's just not fun. And then yeah, I agree. Hopefully there aren't injuries. They all come back refreshed from their international breaks, and then we go on. But yeah, I completely get with Jamie. We need a kind of really good run leading up to that kind of set of April fixtures, and that's where we will really see where we're at, whether this is a blip. But yeah, thanks for having me on, and thanks for everyone in the comments and everything, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Becky. Ricky, what have you been up to? What are you up to, and where can people find you?
Well, the guys know where they can find me. On X, you can find me at Ricky J Norwood, and on Insta, you can find me at official Ricky Norwood. But I will be going down to the game, so I will be at the Luton game. So if you're around, please come over, say hi, and tell us what you guys are up to and what stand you're in, and just sharing the love. Do you know what I mean? But at the moment, back to auditions and cracking on, my friend. I also want to say to Becky as well, just a big kind of, I know it was Mother's Day, what was it, last Sunday, but just a big happy Mother's Day to you, because you're a mum that takes her son, and I know there's a couple out there, but just from all of the boys, we appreciate that, man. We love seeing that. I love seeing that Mumsy takes Jack down to the lane, and you have a fantastic day and all of that, man. It means a lot. It's great seeing that. And for all of the boys out there that get to go with their mums, big up to you, and big up to all the mums too. So sending you all big love.
And all that, the whole kind of Spurs family, I think, in all the different guises that it is, that is what all brings us together, isn't it? In those situations where I do believe, like, the people know that I'm from Chester and it's 4 hours to get there. It is about the people that you see. And obviously the football's brilliant, but I thank you. I really appreciate it. I do feel really fortunate that I get to take Jack and that he still wants to come with me, particularly after last season as well.
Nice one, Rick. And Jamie, what have you been up to? What are you up to? And where can people find you if they want to give you a follow?
They can't find me on X because it's a cesspit of hatred, so I don't go anywhere near it. But they can find me. You can follow me on the gram. And I'm not very good, so I haven't put my little handle on there, but it's at the Jamie Kenna on Instagram. I'm in the new season of House of the Dragon. So that's all the press and PR is just about to sort of ramp up on that. So it comes out June the 17th, I think is episode 1. So yeah, make sure you tune into that, but I'll be doing the publicity rounds on that coming up soon. And you can also find me at the Lane. So yeah, I'll be at the Luton game. So I sit in the North Stand. So if anyone's around or they see me, I often take my little boy as well. So massive, shout out to Becky. I think that's even more special to go with your mum. Brilliant. So, but it's a real privilege and an honour to watch my son feel the pain and suffering that I've felt for the last 48 years of my life with the little moments of joy. So, but he's already seen us in the Champions League final, so he's doing better than I did as a kid. So that's me. Yeah, House of the Dragon comes out June the 17th. I'll be at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium wearing my whatever colours I choose to wear. And thanks so much for tuning in. And a little shout out to it was good of Big Ange to point that out for all those people that travel far and wide. There's a lot of stigma about do you go to the games and all of that? Do you even be an armchair fan? And you do forget how much, and it doesn't matter, just because you go to the games every week doesn't mean you care more than someone who's sitting halfway over the other side of the world getting up. I follow the NFL, and I sit up late watching NFL games and stuff, and the Super Bowl, and because I love it, and I've been to 3-4 games in my whole life because you just can't. So you do forget that. So big shout out to all of you Spurs fans all over the world. It's a special club. I've been following them since I can remember. So it's nice to have you on board and enjoy the journey with people who love and care about the club. So thank you.
Yeah, well said, Jamie.
Also, I always want to give him a shout out, but this is Sonny the pug.
Oh.
He looks happy.
I was going to say, yeah, he looks like he's watched the match.
Yeah, he must have watched the game.
And if you look, he's even got a little number 7. He's white. The little number 7.
That's cool.
Oh, brilliant.
There you go.
Brilliant.
Love Sonny the pug as well.
Well said, Jamie, about the fans all over the world. Yeah, it's great, and it never ceases to amaze me when Chris puts the numbers up of and positions in the charts where this channel ranks around the world. It's just incredible. So thanks for all your love. Most of the comments are positive and nice. Thankfully, there's not hardly any horrible people out there. So look, I hope you've enjoyed this tonight. Somebody did ask, Craig, were you an actor in Minder on the Orient Express? Well, I don't know whether Arthur Daly was ever on the Orient Express or whether he went murder on the Orient Express. I wasn't, unless it was some condescending a joke that I've missed the punchline. I wasn't, and I'm not an actor. But if there are any jobs paying really loads of money, then I'll take it. I'm happy to. Anyway, enough about that. Look, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed it. And I'll
great hosting, Craig. Great.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well done, Craig. Well done, brother.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And we'll see you on the next one. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on.